everyone, Vanessa here. This video is really long overdue. It's my TBR cart series. We're on the third shelf. I want to read all of the synopsises of the books for you and suggest them, just so you can see kind of what my reading style is. This was supposed to be my summer TBR, and then I kind of went to my other shelves and started reading other books, so I didn't really get through a lot on this shelf, but hopefully when I have a summer read, like an itch to read a summer read this year, this is where I'm going to go to for the end half of the year. So we're going to start on the third shelf. A Wedding on the Beach. Bess Culpepper has long been sure of two things: that her group of college friends would stay close, and that love is worth the wait. At 42, she's found the right man, and she's celebrating her upcoming wedding by inviting her best friends to beautiful Kenban Court. Bess has always been at the helm of these reunions, herding everyone together despite distance and outside commitments. As usual, Marta and Mike journey from their home near New York City, while Chuck and his husband Dean travel from Los Angeles. But Allison, half of a devoted couple since college, is making the trip from Chicago without her husband Chris. None of the others know the reason for their impending divorce. There's other tensions too. The usually level-headed Marta is conspicuously on edge, and Chuck reveals devastating personal news. As reality encroaches on her dreams of the perfect gathering, Bess begins to second-guess her assumptions about friendship and fidelity. If relationships like these, nurtured over decades, can flounder, how can any couple stay committed? Is it possible to truly know the ones we love, or even to predict where one's own path will lead? It's actually very interesting, because when I was studying philosophy and psychology, I was always thinking about, like, can you really know another person? Even someone who's really close to you, you're never really in their head, so you'll never really know what they're thinking or how they're feeling, and you're hoping that what they're telling you is the truth, but that isn't always the truth. People can be lying, and it makes it hard to trust people, especially when people break that trust with you. So I think this book touches on that, and I'm excited to read it. The next one is the Jane Austen Society. Now, I love Jane Austen. Anything that says Jane Austen, even if it's not written by her, but about her or something to do with her writing, I love to read. So, just after the Second World War, in the small English village of Chawton, an unusual but like-minded group of people band together to attempt something remarkable. In the early 1800s, Chawton was the final home of Jane Austen, one of England's finest novelists. By the 1940s, little remains of her legacy, with a few distant relatives and their diminishing estate, including the cottage where Austen wrote or revised her books. With the winds of change blowing through the country in the post-war days, and the cottage's future now in the hands of fate, a group of disparate individuals fight to preserve both Austen's home and her legacy for the world. These people: a farmer, a young war widow, the village doctor, an employee of Sotheby's, a Hollywood star, a local solicitor, the anticipated heiress to the estate, and a precocious house girl, could not be more different, and yet they are united in their love for the works and words of Austen. As each of them endures their own quiet struggle with the loss and trauma of war and other tragedies, they find solace, connection, and hope in rallying together to create the Jane Austen Society, a charming and moving novel that explores the tragedies and triumphs of life, both large and small, and the universal humanity within us all. That sounds really good. I always find it interesting when people are trying to save historical buildings, save historical texts. So this should be an interesting story, and especially since it's Jane Austen's house where she was editing her books and writing her books. Like, that's, to me, is a very historical place to be saving. So that should be interesting. The next book is The Paris Model. Now, I am obsessed with Paris. I haven't been there. I've always wanted to go, so any books that are about Paris, that take place in Paris, it's usually about someone dreaming that they're going to go to Paris and they're going to change their life. I don't actually think if I go to Paris, my life will be completely changed, but I think that going to different cafes where artists and writers have been inspired, might be inspiring, and you know, a good story to tell for my blog, or just a really good experience to be in that atmosphere where other writers were that I admire. So raised on a vast Australian sheep farm, the stunning Grace Woods is compelled to travel to a tumultuous post-war Paris to start a new life. While working as a glamorous model for Christian Dior, the world's newly acclaimed emperor of fashion, Grace mixes with counts and princesses, authors and artists, diplomats and politicians. Among those she befriends are Pablo Picasso, Julia Child, and future Jackie Kennedy. But when Grace falls in love with the handsome Philip Boyer, she doesn't know that he is leading a double life, nor that his past might hold secrets and lies that will turn her life upside down. Based on a true story, the Paris model is an unforgettable tale of glamour, family, secrets, and heartbreak. I didn't know it was based on a true story, so now I'm even more excited for this book. And there were some names in there of writers and artists that she's meeting. That's what I'm talking about, like going to Paris. There were a lot of famous artists, maybe not famous at the time, but who are famous now, who found inspiration there. So that would be really exciting for me. The next one is The Marriage Clock. To Layla Abid's traditional Indian parents, finding a husband is as easy as match, meet, marry. But for Layla, a marriage of arrangement clashes with her lifelong dream of a Bollywood romance where real love happens before marriage, not the other way around. Yet after 26 years of singledom and still no sign of Mr. Perfect, even Layla is starting to get nervous. And to make matters worse, her parents are panicking, the neighbors are talking, and she's wondering if her expectations are just too high. Tasked with an impossible mission of satisfying her parents while also fulfilling her own Western ideals of love, Layla decides it's finally time to stop dreaming and start searching. But after a series of speed dates, blind dates, online dates, and even ambush dates, the sparks just don't fly. Now with the marriage clock ticking and a 3-month deadline looming on the horizon, Layla must face the consequences of what might happen if she doesn't find the one. I think there's a lot of pressure, not just in Indian culture, but in society, to get married by a certain age, to have children by a certain age, to have your life together by a certain age. And I'm excited to read this book because I think that arranged marriages do work. Some of them do work, some of them don't work. Just like meeting someone organically works or doesn't work, meeting someone online works or doesn't work. But I think there's so much pressure for young women, especially in their mid to late 20s, to have found the one and to start building that family, that legacy. So this should be really interesting. You Say It First. Meg has her entire life set up perfectly. She and her best friend Emily plan to head to Cornell together in the fall. She has a sweet boyfriend and she works at a voter registration call center in her Philadelphia suburb. But everything changes when one of those calls connects her to a stranger from small town Ohio. Colby is stuck in a rut, reeling from a family tragedy and working a dead-end job. The last thing he has time for is some privileged rich girl preaching the sanctity of the political process. So he says the worst thing he can think of and hangs up. But things don't end there. That night on the phone winds up being the first in a series of candid, sometimes heated, always surprising conversations that lead to a long-distance friendship, and then, slowly, to something more. Across state lines and phone lines, Meg and Colby form a once-in-a-lifetime connection, but in the end, are they just too different to make it work? That seems really interesting to me. I mean, there's this story when my grandmother, my nonna, was working in a wallet making shop. She one day, as a joke with her coworker, put her phone number in one of the wallets, and then, you know, it went out to be sold. And then some man called her and wanted to meet her, but she didn't meet him. And I always thought that was interesting. Like, even back then when there wasn't anything online, like, she had this serendipitous moment with a random stranger. And it would have been interesting to hear the story if she had gone and met him, but that also could be very dangerous. So I see how, especially at the time, she wouldn't have done that. But it's just, I think this would be very interesting. I'm gonna take a few out here because they are all stacked like this, and this might be easier for me to get to them for you, like this. There's a lot here, as usual. And then there's two more in the back that I'll pull out too. Oh, there's three more because there's a small book hiding in there. Perfect. And then I'll stand these up. There, got it. So this one is Sunset Beach. I love books that take place on the beach, that take place at a cottage, that take place by the water. I personally love going to the cottage, going by the lake, going by the ocean. So any books that can transport me there, I always end up buying. Drew Campbell's life is adrift. She's out of a job and down on her luck, and life doesn't seem to be getting any better when her estranged father, Bryce Campbell, a flamboyant personal injury attorney, shows up at her mother's funeral after a 20-year absence. Worse, he's remarried to Drew's 8th grade frenemy, Wendy, now his office manager, and they're offering her a job. It seems like the job from hell, but the offer is sweetened by the news of her inheritance, her grandparents' beach bungalow in the sleepy town of Sunset Beach, a charming but storm-damaged eyesore, now surrounded by waterfront McMansions. With no other prospects, Drew begrudgingly joins the firm, spending her days screening out the grifters whose phone calls flood the law office. Working with Wendy is no picnic either, but when a suspicious death at an exclusive beach resort nearby exposes possible corruption at her father's firm, she goes from unwilling cubicle rat to unwitting investigator, and is drawn into a case that may or may not involve her father. With an office romance building, a decades-old missing persons case reopened, and a cottage in rehab, one thing is for sure on Sunset Beach: there's a storm on the horizon. So it sounds like it's gonna be not a calming book, maybe a little bit more stressful situation, but I think I'm still gonna like it. Mrs. Everything. This was, when I bought this book, it was really big. It had just come out and I still haven't read it, so let's see what this is about. Joe and Bethy Kaufman were born into a world full of promise. Growing up in the 1950s Detroit, they live in a perfect Dick and Jane house where the rules in the family are clearly defined. Joe is a tomboy, the bookish rebel with a passion to make the world more fair. Bethy is the pretty, feminine good girl, a would-be star who enjoys the power for beauty, confers, and dreams of a traditional life. But the truth ends up looking different from what the girls imagined. Joe and Bethy survive traumas and tragedies as their lives unfold against the background of free love in Vietnam. Woodstock and women's lib, Bethy becomes an adventure-loving wild child who dives headlong into the counterculture and is up for anything except settling down. Meanwhile, Joe becomes a proper young mother in Connecticut, a witness to the changing world instead of a participant. Neither woman inhabits the world she dreams of, nor has a life that feels authentic or brings her joy. Is it too late for the women to finally stake a claim on happily ever after? In her most ambitious novel yet, Jennifer Weiner tells the story of two sisters who, with their different dreams and different paths, offer answers to the question, how should a woman be in the world? I think that's really interesting because there's all these ideas of how women should be, how they should live, the relationships they should have, and seeing those two different worlds and how people are trying to fit in, whether you're trying to fit into the world where you're getting married, you're being the perfect housewife, you're having children, or the other world where you're like an extreme feminist, you're pro sex positive and things like that, but you still feel like you don't fit in either one of those worlds. It's because humans are more complex than that, and you know what you want and how you want your life to end up is different than these two like pathways that society lays out for you. So I think that would be interesting to see like what they end up actually finding makes them happy rather than following these two defined societal norms. Tomorrow is for the brave. 1939 France, lavish parties, fast cars, and a closet full of the latest fashion to the average eye. Socialite Violet St. Croix seemingly has it all. But what she truly wants is a life full of meaning and purpose. So when France falls to Germany, Violet defies her parents' wishes and joins the war effort. With her impeccable skill for driving under pressure, she is soon sent to North Africa to shepherd French Foreign Legion officers carrying valuable intelligence through dangerous territory. But as the Allies encounter one mishap after another, Violet becomes convinced that there is a spy in their ranks. And when her supervising officer is murdered, Violet realizes she might be the only one who can uncover the traitor and save the lives of countless soldiers on the front lines. Convincing others to believe her is difficult enough. Finding someone she can trust just might be impossible. I always love reading historical fiction, and this one takes place during the war. Starts in France. You get to travel across Germany and Africa. I think it's going to be really interesting. And the fact that, you know, it's during the war, there's spies, it's really up my alley. I didn't realize how much I like historical fiction until and when I was younger, I used to read historical fiction, but then I started reading fantasy and nonfiction and business books. So when I dove back into a historical fiction last year, I just realized how much I was missing this genre. So I bought more books in the genre. Loveless. Georgia has never been in love, never kissed anyone, never even had a crush, but as a fanfic-obsessed romantic, she's sure she'll find her person one day. As she starts university, Georgia makes a plan to find love, but when her actions wreak havoc among her friends, she questions why romance seems so easy for other people, yet not for her. With new terms thrown at her, asexual, aromatic, Georgia is more uncertain about her feelings than ever. Is she destined to remain loveless, or has she been looking for the wrong thing all along? I think it should be interesting. I love books that bring me back to a time where you're in university, you're just starting out, you know, your studies, trying to figure out where you want to go in life, what direction you want to go in, and at, you know, you're 18, 19, 20 when you're starting university, just out of high school, and maybe you had a high school boyfriend who you're breaking up with, or you've never been with someone like this girl before, and you're just hoping that like your life can come together and you can figure out what you want to do when you grow up and who's you're gonna love. So I think it's gonna be just one of those sweet little stories. Oh, there's a sticker on this one which I won't be able to get off. Got 25% off of it. Where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. A seat at the anchor desk of the most watched morning show, recognized by millions across the country, thanks in part to her flawless blonde highlights and Botox smooth skin, an adoring husband and a Princeton daughter. Peyton is that woman. She has it all. Until Sky, her sister, is a stay-at-home mom living in a glitzy suburb of New York. She has degrees from all the right schools and can helicopter parent with the best of them. But Sky is different from the rest. She's looking for something real and dreams of a life beyond the PTA and pickup, until Max, Peyton's bright and quirky 17-year-old daughter, is poised to kiss her fancy private school goodbye and head off to pursue her dreams in film. She's waited her entire life for this opportunity, until one little lie, that's all it takes for the illusions to crack, for resentments to surface. Suddenly the grass doesn't look so green, and they're left wondering, will they have what it takes to survive the truth? I think this is going to be interesting. I mean, sometimes in life, we go in directions that we think are going to make us happy, that we think are going to bring everything together, that once I reach this point, I'm going to be happy. Once I reach this point, I'm going to be feeling more grown up. Once I reach this point, something. And I think the fact that these people are happy until something bursts their bubble is very realistic. Grown-ups. They're a glamorous family, the Caseys. John Casey, his brothers Ed and Liam, their beautiful, talented wives, and their kids spend a lot of time together. Birthday parties, anniversary celebrations, weekends away, and they're a happy family. Johnny's wife, Jessie, who has the most money, insists on it. Under the surface though, conditions are murkier. While some people clash, other people like each other far too much. Still, everything manages to stay under control. That is, until Ed's wife, Kara, gets a concussion and can't keep her thoughts or opinions to herself. One careless remark at Johnny's birthday party with the entire family present, and Kara starts spilling all their secrets. As everything unravels, each of the adults find themselves wondering if it's finally time to grow up. That sounds interesting. And people carry secrets, people carry other people's secrets, and it's not just a concussion that can make secrets come out. You could just be having a casual conversation and something slips out of your mouth that either you don't mean to say or you don't realize someone is trying to keep it hidden. So I think that will be interesting. Bare necessities. Danny's life is falling apart. His 11-year-old son, Will, hasn't spoken since the death of his mother in a car crash a year earlier, and Danny has just been fired from his construction job. To make matters worse, he's behind on the rent, and his nasty landlord is threatening to break his legs if he doesn't pay soon. Danny needs money, and fast. After observing street performers in a local park, Danny spends his last few dollars on a tattered panda costume, impulsively deciding to become a dancing bear. While performing one day, Danny spots his son being taunted by a group of older boys. Danny chases him off, and Will opens up for the first time since his mother's death, unaware that the man in the panda costume is his father. Without disclosing his true identity, Danny comforts his son. But will Danny lose Will's trust once he reveals who he is? And will he be able to dance his way out of debt or be beaten up before he has a chance? Filled with a delightful cast of characters, Bare Necessity is a refreshingly unpretentious and ultimately uplifting story of a father and son reconnecting in the most unlikely of circumstances. I remember getting this book. I saw the cover of a panda and a boy, and I said, I have to know what this book is about. I have no idea what it could be about. And I read the back, and it's one of the few times that I read the back of a book before buying it, and I was really excited to read it. The upside of falling. It's been years since 17-year-old Becca Hart believed in true love, but when her former best friend teases her for not having had a boyfriend, Becca impulsively pretends she's been secretly seeing someone. Brett Wells has it all. As captain of the football team and one of the most popular guys in his school, he should have no problem finding someone to date, but he's always been more focused on his future than who to bring to prom. When he overhears Becca's lie, Brett decides to step in and be the mystery guy. It's the perfect solution. He gets people off his back for not having a meaningful relationship, and she can keep up the ruse that she's got a boyfriend. Acting like the perfect couple isn't easy though, especially when you barely know the other person. But with Becca still picking up the pieces from when her world was blown apart years ago and Brett just barely holding his together now, they begin to realize they have more in common than they ever could have imagined. When the line between what is pretend and what is real begins to blur, they are forced to answer the question, is this fake romance the real thing in either of their lives? Fake dating. It's a trope that I don't think I've read before, and I've wanted to. And I think it's interesting that she never had a boyfriend and now she's pretending that she has a boyfriend. When I was in high school, I never dated anyone. Not that I didn't like anyone, it just never happened for me in high school. And I think that it's just gonna be interesting to see, you want to prove yourself so bad that you're worthy that you have to pretend that you're dating someone. I never really had that feeling that I had to be dating someone in high school. I had crushes on people. I wasn't the most popular. I was in the nerd group, but I was never really bothered by that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this affects her self-esteem. Just 2 books left. Rosy colored glasses. Seeing the world through rosy colored glasses. Opposites attract until the magic gives way to misunderstanding. That is the story of the Thorpe family. Rex, practical, is a rule keeper. Rosie, sparkling and unconventional, lives to break the rules. When Rex and Rosie divorce, their daughter Willow must navigate their opposing worldviews as she shuffles between them. But Willow just wants to be with fun-loving Rosie, to bask in her mother's enchanting glow, the parent who lets her stay up late, miss school, eat candy for breakfast. Rosie's seemingly outsized love fills a void within Willow, but as her mother's behavior becomes erratic, her father must step in to shield Willow. Blinded by Rosie's brilliance, Willow resents Rex's interference, unable to recognize his kind of love. Rex has removed his rosy-colored glasses. Now Willow struggles to do the same without diminishing her deep love for her mother. In turn, heartbreaking and uplifting, this novel is about the many ways that love and family, however imperfect, can redeem you. This is actually interesting because there's a book, a movie called In Her Shoes with Cameron Diaz, and there's a mother who ends up committing suicide. You find that out in the beginning. It's not really it's not something that you find out later in the movie, but a spoiler, that's the word I was looking for. Her mother does act erratically, lets them skip school. Sometimes instead of giving them a lunch to bring to school, she gives them like a crown and says that you're a princess, but she's not mothering properly, and it's because she has a mental illness. And even though the girls love her and she's fun to be around, there's also that aspect of, but she's not mothering them. She's more of being like a best friend, and not feeding them at lunchtime, letting them skip school, isn't looking for in their best interest, but because she has a mental illness. So this should be interesting to see if it's something similar to that. I'm gonna have to fix this after. I didn't put them back in properly. Hope in a Jar. I remember seeing this book, and it's hardcover. It's about hope in a jar. I have no idea what this is about, but I'm excited to find out. 20 years ago, Allie Denty was a pretty one, and her best friend Olivia Pelham was a smart one. Throughout high school, they were inseparable until a vicious rumor that Olivia, a rumor too close to the truth, ended their friendship. Now on the eve of their 20th high school reunion, Allie, a temp worker, finds herself suddenly single, a little chubby, and feeling old. Olivia, a cool and successful, beautiful editor in New York, realizes she's lonely and that she's finally ready to face her demons. Sometimes hope lives in the future, sometimes it comes from the past, and sometimes when every stupid thing goes wrong, it comes from a prettily packaged jar filled with scented cream and promises. So this sounds very interesting to me. It's not really what I expected. I don't know what I expected though when I saw Hope in a Jar. It's just a very interesting cover, and I think the fact that you lose a friendship and then later in life you're able to reconcile, and hopefully like that's what the book is about. They're gonna reconcile, they're gonna face their demons, they're gonna talk it through, they're gonna understand each other's perspective from a long time ago. I think that would be really interesting. And now we've gotten through my third shelf of my TBR cart. Up next is gonna be the fourth shelf. I'll do that another day. I'm really happy you guys all are coming here and watching my videos and are interested in what I'm reading. Once I'm done my TBR cart, I'm going to be going through some of my 5-star reads, some of my favorite reads of all time, not just of this year. And then we'll see if I'll go through my other bookshelves, maybe not reading all the synopsises, but just showing you some of the books I'm really excited to read. So thank you all for being here. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys later.